See, that couldn't be further from the truth.
And why do you say that?
Now, look, there are remarkable people that get out of the context they were born. It happens all the time. It happened to my dad. My dad was born in a poor village in southeastern Turkey, and he managed to get an education and get out of that situation. Now he makes a good living in America. Okay? Now, but most of the people that were born in that village stayed in that village because that was the context that they were born in. If you ask me why are they in that village, I won't tell you that it's because they're lazy or they're immoral. It's because they were born in that village as their parents and their grandparents were, and for dating back hundreds of years. So my dad was brave and smart and hardworking enough to get out of that situation, but I don't blame the people who didn't.
Did you know that prior to the Civil Rights Movement and the government taking over of black Americans' lives, that less than 10% of black babies were born out of wedlock? Did you know that?
Well, the number of babies born out of wedlock has changed for all of society.
No, that's not what I'm asking you, man. Because
why do you keep focusing on blacks? I'm like, if immigrants are poor,
on your show,
Irish and Italian, and why do you keep talking about how blacks?
Because on your
blacks?
show, you're attacking me for telling the truth about what's wrong with black people.
I just keep proving to you over and over that it isn't true. That's why I was attacking you.
To my question. Did you know that prior to the Civil Rights Movement, that less than 10% of black babies were born out of wedlock?
I also know that
yes or no to
that. that was true of almost every race in the country at the time.
Did you know about black
people? That the
people?
country has changed.
Did you know
as
black people?
Black people as well as white people, yes.
And did you know that prior to the Civil Rights Movement and the takeover of the government of the black family, that most black people got married before having their children out of wedlock?
Well, it depends, again, on the time context you're talking about. A lot of times during slavery, they were not allowed to get married.
I'm talking about prior to the last 50 or 60 years. Did you know that?
Yes, the marriage rate in America has declined for all races. All races,
but
yes.
Especially black Americans.
You'd have to give me the numbers on
it. And did you know that prior to the Civil Rights Movement and the takeover of the government, that black people were independent, that they had their own businesses, they were educating themselves.
They still do.
They had black colleges and black schools around the country. But when the government took over, that they gave that up for the most part. Did you know that?
That is not true. Yes, you were right until you got to the very end. They had their own businesses. They still do. They were independent. They still are.
Most of them rely on the government now. It wasn't like that prior to the takeover.
Where's your numbers on that?
It wasn't like that prior to the government. And so
you like to say that they all rely on the government. Where? What's your numbers?
About people like you and white liberals like you. You guys seem to get a joy out of black Americans being not all but most, relying on the government, having their babies out of wedlock.
Absurd.
Their children are out of control. You don't live that way yourself, but you seem to get a joy out of seeing black people live that way. And so you lie to them, you cater to them.
I just told you I was for welfare
reform. You attack anyone who tries to bring them back to themselves.
No, I attack anyone who insults them.
Why is that?
You insult them, you say things that are patently not true, and that's why I attack you.
Why don't you live that way then if you think it's okay to be that way?
It depends on the situation. When I was unemployed, I took unemployment. When I was in a fire, I had the fire department rescue me. I rely on the government when necessary.
But you didn't take welfare.
Depends on how you characterize unemployment.
On the brother.
Okay, folks, welcome back. Jesse Lee Peterson is here, 888-775-3773. Cenk Uygur is with me, host of the Young Turks, daily live webcast. You say you're on radio as well, right?
Right. We're on XM Daily. We're on Sirius on the weekends. We're on their left channels, America Left, Sirius Left, etc. And then so people can watch the show on theyoungturks.com, theyoungturks.com. They could listen to it on the radio. Or on YouTube, just type in Young Turks, and you'll see the clips, including the one where I'm going after the good Reverend here.
So are you going to have me on your show?
An interesting conversation, so very likely so, yes.
Did you know that out of wedlock birth during the 60s was higher in the white community than the black community at the time? Did you know that? I
had heard that stat before. And so, look, Jesse, here's the thing. You try to put so-called liberals or white liberals or whatever in a box, and you put them in a category and you say, here's how they think. Okay, first of all, I was a Republican before. I don't fit into any of the categories, whether white or liberal, et cetera. And do I see the downsides of the government if it, gives the wrong incentives? Absolutely. That's why I was for welfare reform. Okay, so am I concerned about some of the same things you're concerned about? Yes. But you overdo it, Jesse. You blame people whose fault it wasn't their fault. And if the government gives the wrong incentives, then it's the government's fault. Okay, it's not those people's fault. Do you see what I'm saying?
No.
And we need to fix it together. We need to work on it, right? And we need to find the right incentives and disincentives and the right amount of government. But the way to do it is not to demonize black people.
Whose fault is it that these people get on the government, rely on the government? Do you blame the government or blame them for relying on the government?
It has a host of factors. I mean, it depends on what specific program you're talking about, how people respond to that program, et cetera. But if you're asking, people to be more self-reliant, well, you just heard my dad's story. Of course I believe in self-reliance.
But I don't hear you saying that on your show.
No, I say it all the time.
All I hear you saying is that I'm some kind of nut who is trying to wake up black people.
No, but that's my question to you, Jesse. Do you get that you appear to be demonizing black people, like putting all the blame on them, et cetera, when they're so it's like just like I said, it's like blaming the people from my dad's village. Yeah, they were born there.
Absolutely. I hear white liberals and black liberals saying that all the time because white liberals and black liberals get a sense of joy knowing that there are these poor black people who just can't take care of themselves. And we are a little better than they are. So
see, but that's what's absurd.
Let's just offer them a little bit more government, have this false love for them.
Jesse, I'm trying to get into your mind here because I don't get it.
Why don't you encourage them to get up and take care of themselves? As a white liberal, why don't you encourage them?
First of all, I do all the time, so you're wrong about that. Number two, I don't get it. Do you really think that I never understood this conservative way of thinking. Like somehow I'm going to get something out of, the government gets more power. The government ain't my uncle. Well, why do I care if the government has more power? Why do I want to keep people down? I want to help people, but I want to do it in a smart way and figure out what part of it should be private industry, what part of it should be government. You're saying, no, let's have anarchy. Don't rescue people if they're about to die. Don't do anything.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that just like we did prior to the takeover of the government and the false black leaders, black people need to get married and they need to be responsible for themselves.
Who disagrees with that?
You do.
No, I don't. Of course, people should get married and they should be responsible for themselves, of course.
Let's go to Louisiana and talk to Larry. Larry, you're on with Cenk. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, Jesse, I just want to state that, really, first of all, you're like two left feet. Make it wrong. One of them right, but make the whole thing wrong. But speaking of New Orleans, the hurricane issue, you're totally wrong on that. You really don't know what happened, so you really ought not address that issue. Maybe you ought to be a listener on that. As the guy stated, they did pull guns out on people. People were shot and killed trying to get out. The police did it. We had a black DA that charged with murder. It was overthrown. Now the federal government is into it. These guys are charged with murder again. And we try to have access to a bridge to get it to flee. We was denied passage. You really don't know what's going on.
Larry, why are you leaving out the fact, you and my guest here, Cenk, why are you leaving out the fact that there were black gang members from other cities that went into Louisiana during this time in order to rob and take from businesses and homes where people had left their homes and businesses? And the cop, how would the officers know who was who if this is happening? Why you guys are leaving it out?
This happened on the bridge. This happened on bridges where people was fleeing. One guy was mentally
No, I said,
ill.
why are you leaving that out?
Well, I don't know anything but gang members.
Why are you leaving that out?
And I was in the midst of it.
Look,
I was in the midst of it.
There are gang members of every race in every city.
I
don't. So you're saying there were gang members in New Orleans? I say, of course there were. There's gang members in every city.
They went there from other cities.
You know what gangs do? They prey on people's weaknesses, and so they sense weakness, so they went there. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that they're black. By the way, a police officer, Michael Lohman, was convicted and pled guilty. Yes, we shot people on bridges.
But you guys,
6 officers.
My question is, why are you telling half of the story instead of the real deal?
No, you're telling half the story. I just told you the whole story.
Larry, thanks for your call. 888-77-JESSE. We're coming straight back to the phones, folks, and we're going to give out Cenk's website as well.
Little ditty about Jack and Diane, 2 American kids growing up in the heartland. Jackie gonna be football star.
Cenk Uygur is with me, folks. He's the host of the Young Turks. It's a daily live webcast. How can people get to your show?
They can watch and listen on theyoungturks.com. So that's the website, theyoungturks.com. Or they can go to our YouTube channel and just type in Young Turks, and you'll see all of our videos. We're one of the top 100 partners there. Have over 200 million views. Or if they have an XM or a Sirius set on the left channels.
Oh, okay. And these guys, is that a co-host or a guest host?
We have
on with you at times.
We have guest hosts on at times.
And they were attacking me, folks, on this one that I saw at least. You said during the break that I shouldn't say that these folks are lazy and immoral.
That's right.
And why shouldn't I say it if it's true?
Because it's not true. First of all, they're not immoral. Okay.